blessed be to your day. May it be everything you require to create everything that you desire. As we get more and more into our dark nights of our soul, in order for us to win that day, today being the only day that matters, and that moon day means the investment into our change, I wanted to get into emotional suicide. Energy does not die. You simply redirect it. So when we think about emotional suicide, it's the physical attachment. Emotional suicide would be the physical attachment that I use to the physical attachment of my void. The physical attachment of my void. You can't remove the emotion. You can't remove it. You can falsify and say that you're numb to emotion. There was a lot of things that I learned earlier on when I was going through my healing processes where I thought that the key to me mastering my space, or a lot of times when we're mastering our space, and what we got into in the podcast, is this dynamic for ourselves to put our emotions in the auxiliary position. We allow ourselves to put our emotions in the auxiliary position. We put our physical into that primary position. The problem with putting the physical attachments in the primary position is this is something that we've been taught. This is a learned behavior that came from traumatic experiences. Everything from how you deal in relationships to how you deal at your job, to the friendships, trauma bonds, the associations, how many things you keep around you, why you have so many people around you. There's so many things that I had to learn in the sense of I was committing this emotional suicide. Every single day that I woke up, I had to have something in my space to give me my purpose, to give me my potential, to praise my potential, to keep me in a certain rhythm. The problem with this emotional aspect and going into this point with the emotion is it'll never be fulfilled. I don't care what you do. I don't care what I did. I don't care what job I held. I don't care how long I held the job. I don't care what relationship I was in, how long I held the relationship. Everything that I did was based on dampening my emotional understanding because I had a certain image in my mind. If I do this, and this, if we go on trips, if I buy this, if I do all of these things, then they'll reflect back to me what I'm reflecting back to them. But the longer that I stayed in the space, the more I started feeling more and more dead emotionally. And since I didn't know how to charge myself, since I wasn't charging myself, what do you think you do whenever you're in this position and you're not charging yourself? You're depending on everything outside of you to direct your energy, to direct your flow. You're taking everything else based on those emotions, those memories of your past, the things that you're not dealing with, the shadows that you're not assessing. You need something in your space to give that its highlight. That remember, there's no such thing as the good or the bad. It's the polarity of positive and negative. So the things that you're doing based on, you're saying I'm being this good person, and you create this identity of a good person, you need an antagonist to naturally be in that space. So now when you start looking at the relationship, when we're looking at the relationships that we acquire in our journey for our lessons, when we looking at the individual relationship of myself, without any assessment of myself or not taking the time to assess myself, I'm always going to be stuck trying to assess the relationship. The relationship's not going anywhere. My job's not paying me enough. This isn't going the way that I wanted it to go. I can assess the absolute. We talked about that yesterday. I can assess the absolute all day. I can assess the result all day. I can, just like thinking about the entitlement aspect, I can get the house today. I can get the house today. Get the title, get the deed. But what about the internal aspect? I can doll it up, put all the decorations. I can put all these tapestries up. I can put all the altars inside of my space. I can do all of that. Put all that in there. And it'll look good. It'll look great. People will come over and they'll be like, oh. People will come over, whether people come over and they're like, oh, I like how you did that. Or people come over in the space and they're like, or people come over into the space and they're like, I don't like going over there. That acceptance. Now I find myself, because I'm committing emotional suicide, I find myself over-explaining. I find myself always in this over aspect. Remember, when we think about the chakra system, it's either over, under, or balance. So I always found myself over-explaining to hide a shadow. Every time I want you to think about this. Every time that you see yourself over-explaining or overcompensating, you're hiding a shadow. That's where your shadow's at. Remember, everything's working for you. It's up to you to pick up the lesson. Everything's working for you. It's up to you to pick up the lesson. The longer that I stayed in that over aspect, I needed things to formulate that over aspect. So if in a relationship we had a bad argument, if there was a betrayal at the job, there was a betrayal with a friendship, I needed that. I had to get comfortable with myself and say that I needed that. Whether it was the way my mother was or your mother is or your father, whoever it happened, you needed that. And it's going to keep coming up because you need it. You just have not accepted that you needed it. That's why the first thing that I do when I'm doing a consultation is the first thing that I've ever said. And I had to make this a mantra. Because we always want to make mantras that are based on I'm whole and I'm at peace. Instead of, when are you going to make the mantra that you're saying you're at war? When are you going to make the mantra saying that you're at war? When are you going to make the mantra that says, I need to understand my patients? When are you going to make that mantra? See, I understood earlier on, like most people, we made mantras to make us feel good. Which was nothing wrong with that. You made a mantra to make you feel good about yourself, put you in a nice space, made you feel real jazzy, made you feel real ravey. Cool. But when are you going to make the honesty your real aspect to you? Because this is the thing. Whether you make the mantra or not, it don't matter what you're saying. It's already going to be programmed based on you stuck in that polarity anyway. You focusing on, whether you focus on the negative, there's always going to be a mantra or that flow that's naturally going to bring you into that's going to show the positive. But since you're so focused on the negative and you bombing on yourself on the negatives, everything that's positive that can happen, that you could be looking at is like, use an example. You can have a whole home, you can have a friend that you know ain't shit. It don't matter what they are, because the spirit does not give a fuck. Honestly, spirit don't give a fuck. Most niggerish niggas alive. Somebody could cut, one of your friends could have came up big on a lottery pick, or they got a PPP loan, or they got something, they got some money, they got in a relationship, they got a cougar, they got a sugar mama, they got this, they got that, whatever. Whatever brought them into their abundance. Whatever brought them into their abundance. It doesn't matter what it is. Simply by me focusing only on the negative, I'm going to look at that automatically, this positive point that can help me understand my emotions more and why it triggers me and why it's affecting me, because I'll automatically shut myself down from that stream of that thought. Just thinking like that seems wrong to me. I don't see how you always out here trying to pimp these I don't see how you always are with these old ladies putting them in velour sweatsuits. I don't see how you out here allowing these men to do whatever they're doing. Yeah, you do. That's why it's being shown to you. You're seeing the absolute from the result of you staying within the traumatic experience. It's time to change the perception. My perspective don't mean shit because that's all based on me trying to preserve something. So if I see a shorty every day on IG, see a shorty all day on IG making thirst trap pics and niggas is paying them for it, and when I'm looking at it and I have to remove the bias, I have to remove this judgment because I'm only judging myself, because now I got to be able to admit to myself, that's how my mother was. That's how my aunts were. That's how most of the women in my family were. That's what they were taught, and that's how they were trained. That's how they created their space before social media. That's what my mother used to do. That's how my mother met my pops. I have to now look at this and analyze myself, because if it's bothering me, it's something I need to analyze about myself. It's not based on me sitting there and being like, fuck that, they're dumb, they're stupid, they're this, they ain't nope. They're there for a reason. This is how you stay in that no direction. This is how we stay in this emotional suicide. You get angry, you get upset, you get triggered, and then instead of learning to sit in the situation, what do you want to go do? I'm going to avoid it. I'm not going to have the conversation. And then what else starts to happen in your physical world? Everything in your physical world matches the internal instinct. The more chaotic your shit is you're looking to wait for something chaotic to happen so you can react. Remember, your comfort is your reaction. So you waiting for something to happen that you waiting for something to happen. But if I have more of an emotional intelligence, if I'm tapping into my emotional intelligence, if I'm not killing off the emotion or the emotional trigger, then I'm going to think about it a lot differently. I'm going to look at those situations a lot differently. Instead of me looking at it as, that's why we can't get ahead. That's why we can't do this. That's why everybody's against me. There's no way in fucking hell that I can sit here now where I'm at and be like, the world is against me. There's people against me. Nobody wants to give me what I want. No one gives me what I want. There's no way. Because now I got to realize that in my space, I'm going to create and attach to and attract motherfuckers that think that same exact way. I'm attract people that think that same exact way. I'm attract people that fit my old behavior profile. I'm attract people that can help me submit and stay within my pattern and my habits. And then I'm going to wonder why 3 years went by, not even 3 years, let's say 3 months go by, and I'm in a worse off position. But I got some new shiny shit. All of this goes into, even going deeper into the aspect. You got to hold that perception of whatever happened to you because it fits your identity. It fits your identity. It fits it. From the first example that you had of the masculine experience in your life that was not shit or hurt you. The first experience, and what I mean by hurt, we're talking about the aspects of over, anything that's over in the aspects of the indulgence to avoid your emotional, to avoid opening up the space so you to learn your emotions. That's what hurt you. So when you go back, you say, I had a great family and my mom was this and I got everything that I wanted and I got everything that I wanted. My mom gave me every time that I wanted something from the store, my mom got it for me, or my dad would get it for me. Guess what? That's a traumatic experience. That's a traumatic experience. See, you gotta, when we think about our shadows and sitting in our shadows, whether it's the good or the bad or the positive or the negative, we'll sit in the shadow. We'll ignore those negative shadows. Not realize we'll ignore the bad shadow or what is negative, but that's what's serving your purpose currently. That negative aspect of that shadow is serving you because it gives a positive light to your identity. You trying to remain the same. That good old memory, that positive memory in your life of your mother always coming to your aid, but never giving you the chance to actually express your emotions. That point, that positive point, is not serving you any purpose. Yeah, I had to get to a realization point with myself. That didn't serve me any purpose. All of the good things, all of the positive things that my mother did, I am thankful for. I am in gratitude for, nonetheless. But at this point, if I hold on to those memories, I'm going to try to create in my space reflections of those memories. Whether it be that my mom cooked, whether it's your mom cooked for you, cleaned, washed your drawers, did whatever. If somebody called the house, for some of y'all, if the cops called or the cops came by the house, she protected you. You've been living out that whole fantasy in your mind trying to find it in your current space. You'll never find it. You'll never find it. There'll always be something wrong with it. Because there always has to be something wrong with it. You're looking for perfection. Perfection is simply balance. When something has been perfected, the longer that you stay within the perfected aspect and the perception of the preserving, trying to make it perfect, you stifle your growth. Because that's when you start avoiding conflict. That's when you start avoiding those conversations. But you've been avoiding them conversations ever since. Remember, right now, you're sitting in that same space where it happened. You're sitting in the same space where it happened. Your thought processes went to a certain point based on you projecting, but the emotions are still stuck back there. You still stuck in that feeling. You still acting out that feeling. You still acting out that acceptance. You still acting out that rejection. You still acting out that no. You still acting that out in your current state. Now you see how you reflected it, because now in the points where you should be saying no, you find yourself saying yes a lot. And in the points where you start saying yes, the points where you should be saying yes to yourself, you're saying no to yourself. That's what builds that entitlement. That's what gives you that irrational ration of this provisional aspect of the physical space, your physical attachment. You upset because of what? Because that's how you define love in your life. That's how you define happiness. That's how you define the peace. But behind that is the guilt, the shame. If I'm at peace, I don't have to feel guilty about my peace. If I'm in love with myself and I'm understanding the self-care routine with myself, I'm not feeling guilty about that. Because every space that I go into is a point for me to reflect and learn myself. That's just a byproduct. Instead of me sitting there always wanting to commit emotional suicide, dampening my emotions to maintain the projection of myself, leaving my heart chakra locked up, sitting in a position, because one of the main things that happens with this is, as long as you do this, you always need a conduit inside of your space to maintain the traumatic event. So now when we think about a relationship, I remember I never felt good in a relationship. It always got to a point in a relationship where I would start questioning the relationship when those were points where I should be questioning myself. Every single time. Get to the point in a relationship where I felt something should have been a certain way, looked at it a certain way, and then the way that I expressed myself inside of that space was very, very biased. It was very, very biased. Very, very biased. So now, that's when the self-sabotage kick in. Let me sabotage the relationship. Let me not show up. Let me stop showing up. Let me stop thinking. Let me stop assessing. Let me stop the self-assessment. It ain't on me, it's on them. It's something about them that's wrong. Nothing's wrong with me. There's lying to yourself over and over and over again. But I want you to think about this. Think about the string of the relationships. How did all of your relationships end? What was accepted in the beginning of the relationship? What emotional void was accepted in the beginning of the relationship? And then that's going to give you that corresponding understanding why your relationships they've been rocky ever since. You rather stay in that longevity of a 10-year relationship, 12-year, how many year relationship, even though there was betrayal, even though you said to yourself, I don't believe you, I don't trust you, you don't respect me. Why would you stay? Why would you stay? Because you feel that's what you deserve. You feel you can make it better. You feel you can make it better. You feel if you put onto them the thought process, because here goes the thought process. Regardless, I remember earlier on, and I used to feel guilty for having this thought. When the first time I had this thought, I felt guilty for it. One of my main thoughts was, regardless of whoever's in whatever position, I'm going to move accordingly to my potential and my purpose. Didn't know what the fuck I said. I said that shit when I was 16. Didn't know what it meant. I was on some street shit, mafia-like shit. Where I was like, nigga, I'm gonna move regardless. But what I had to learn was there was a reason that I said it. There was a reason that I did say that. There's a reason that it stuck with me. There's a reason that it stuck with me. Because that was the true aptitude of me. I spoke that from the darkness. But what it was attached to, that's what I had to assess. Because I noticed that when I stayed into that mindset, I would go very, very far. I would extend. I would do things. I would be in a great position. But then the guilt would kick in. How I built that thought would kick in. Avoidance, separation, struggle, suffering, guilt, insecurities, doubts. That's what would come up. Even into the first aspects of me, even now, when I built to start coaching, lecturing, teaching, everything that I do now, those same things came up. But the difference between now, since I'm present, and before then, why I would stop, was because I had to become emotionally present. Where did that come from? Why do I feel this guilt and this doubt? What echoes in what's playing it out in my mind? Oh shit. Because my pop said, if I don't do something this way, or this way, I got to do it this way, and this way. If my mom doesn't accept it, or if my family doesn't accept it, then what are they really? It had to get to the point of what are they really? And I've talked about that before in many of the lectures. If I'm doing my internal work and I'm assessing and I'm healing, that means I'm sitting in my shadow, dealing with my shadows, finding a source of therapy, going into spaces where I need to learn myself, then what are my family members? They're only related to me they're relatives they're relative results of the trauma. So if I look at my friendships and the people that I've bonded to, what are they when I start saying no, I'm going to stay home? What are they when I say no? I haven't had no rest that day, that week. I haven't had no rest. I haven't had no time to sit down. My relationship's suffering. What are they now? They're associates based on the traumatic experience. They're whatever avoidance. Because if you got a bunch of friends around you, I guarantee they all fall into a slot of an emotional wound. You got a whole primary group of friends that you go to based on avoidance. You got a whole group of friends that are based in acceptance. You got a whole group of friends that are based in rejection. You got a whole safe house that's open to neglect and guilt. It's all there. You got it there. Everything in your space is meant to work for you. It's time to stop committing this perception of emotional suicide. That void will never, you're not supposed to feel the emotional voids. You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to feel the emotional void. I used to feel my emotional voids with work. Then I would feel it with smoke, weed. Then I would feed it with alcohol, or I'd fill it with pussy, or I'd feed it with anything that gave me the sense of reaction. I'm going to give you a key before we get out of here, and we don't get into this deep in the night. Everything that you say my to, that's mine, or you take a sense of ownership over in the external, that's your trigger point. My job, my car, my house, my bills, my girlfriend, my boyfriend, my husband, my wife, my best friend, my sister. You keep putting my in front of that shit. I want you to change it like this. I want you to put I am my sister. I am my mother. I am my father. Put I am in front of that. Yeah. The thing with music is is to learn yourself. Whatever you're using, everything inside of your space is meant to help you learn some shit. It's meant to help you open up. It's meant to help you invoke some shit with yourself. Whether you riding down the street, give an example, whether when I leave the gym and I'm riding to Sprouts or Walmart or Publix or wherever, and I'm pumping fucking Kevin Gates, that's what I needed for my release. That's why it came up. But if I'm using the music as if I'm using the music to simply illustrate my emotion, this is how I feel. Every time I feel this way, I'll listen to this song. That becomes an addictive property. Because every time that song come on, those memories come up. So now, is it the memories or the song that I'm attached to? What did I create that space for? I can listen to Kevin Gates all fucking day because I know when I go to the gym and work out, my second half of my workout, that energy and intensity, that's going to get me through my workout. But before me just sitting down and just listening to Kevin Gates all day and not giving it a direction, not giving it my own direction from myself, my true self, sitting there stuck. You'll sit there all day and listen to a song, and then what are you doing when you're done listening to the song? The song goes off. The emotions keep going. Now you in your feelings. You listen to the Drake album, the Drew Hill album, the Carl Thomas Emotional for a whole fucking day. The song went off, but the emotions still remain. What am I doing? What am I doing? I desire you to be the fucking best. I desire you to be the best. Whether it be whatever it is that's in your space is working for you. It's not working against you. It's not an obstacle. It's an option. It's an opportunity. Are you really ready to be that honest with yourself? Is the main question that you put into your mind. Am I really ready to be this real honest with myself? Because remember, honesty, truth, healing are destructive as fuck. They're destructive as fuck. Yeah, you'll feel you're gonna feel better. You're gonna get better, but it gotta fuck you up first. Let go of the death. Let go of that fear of that death and allow it to happen. Everything from consultations, setting up a consultation, still running the special on the consultation. I got 5 spots left. 5 spots left for the consultation. I put it up yesterday. I'm going to adjust it, but I have 5 spots left for the consultations. $60 instead of the regular $100. $60. That means today you can book this. You can book at that price today, and you can schedule the consultation next week or whenever you have a clear chance, because it's an hour and 30 minutes. It's an hour and 30 minutes that we sit down and we start breaking some shit down. So you can set that up for whenever, but that price is only for today. I got 5 spots left. $60, $60, get that consultation. All of my readings are mini consults all the way up to that shadow work consultation. There's nobody stopping you but you. I desire you to be the fucking best. I love you. We love us. Ashe.